Okay, next example, they want us to find f of -8, f of pi, and f of 10 for f of x equals 16. This is basically the same as y equals 16. Okay, so there's no variable, it's just a constant. So this right here is considered a constant function. All right, I'll just abbreviate fn for function. This is a constant function. All right, the y value is always 16, no matter what quantity is in the parentheses, okay? No matter what quantity you plug in, it's always going to be 16 for the y. So f of -8 is going to be 16, f of pi is going to be 16, and f of 10 is going to be 16. Remember, when you plug in a value for x, you get a value for y, but here there's nothing to plug in. It's always y equals 16. And of course, we know if you were to graph y equals 16, you would just go along the y-axis to the number 16. Okay, and you would just graph it like so. Y equals 16. So no matter what x value you have, it's always going to be y equals 16. Okay, here we have a piecewise function, and that's a function with two or more formulas for computing y. The formula to use depends on where x is. There will be an interval for x written to each formula for y. So it's almost three separate functions in one. Okay, this would be the function to use right here if x is less than or equal to -2. This is the function right here if x is between 2 and -2, and this is the function right here if x is greater than or equal to 2. So it's like three functions in one. Okay, so they want us to find f of 5, f of -3, and f of 0 for the function above. These are the values that we're plugging in for x. Okay, so this is going to be x equals 5. This is going to be x equals -3. And this is going to be x equals 0. All right, so we have to use the correct interval for 5, -3, and 0. So if we use the 5 first, 5 is greater than or equal to 2. So the 5 is going to be used in this for this function right here. The -3 is less than or equal to -2, so the -3 falls here. And the 0 is definitely in between 2 and -2, so the 0 is right there. Okay, and now let's plug them in. So for f of -3, we're going to take x equals -3 and put it in there. It's going to be -3 minus 1, which is -4. For the 0, we're going to put it in right there. So f of 0 is just 2 times 0, which equals 0. And finally, for the 5, you plug it in right there. F of 5. It's x squared, so that's going to be 5 squared. And that's just 25. So that's for the piecewise function. All right, see if you can do this one right here. We have 3, 1, and -4. All right, 3, 1, and -4. So see if you can do it for this one. All right, 3 is greater than 1. So this one goes here. And 1 is less than or equal to 1. And -4 is also less than or equal to 1. Okay, so it's pretty easy. If we do f of 1, The 1 gets plugged into negative x, so that's just negative 1. If we do negative 4, again, it gets plugged into negative x. So the negative 4 gets plugged in for x, it's going to be negative of negative 4. And we know 2 negatives make it positive. And finally, f of 3, there's nothing to plug it in. That's a constant function. So f of 3 is just going to give us 5. Okay, it says, suppose a company pays the regular hourly wage for someone who works up to 8 hours, but time and a half for someone who works more than 8 hours, but no more than 10, and double time for more than 10. Then a worker whose regular pay is $10 an hour has the daily pay function below. All right, so between 0 and 8 hours, H is hours, you get $10 an hour. And then once you get 8 hours, you move up to time and a half, so that's $15 an hour. But they have to subtract the first 8 from this one and add the 80, because if you plug in 8 here, that's 80. Okay, and then if you move up beyond 10 hours, it's $20 an hour. They have to subtract those 10 hours from the other function, but add 110, because you get 80 here. You'd get 80 here, and you would get 30 from these 2 hours at $15 an hour. Okay, below is an example of a piecewise function from the IRS. The Y value is the amount of personal income tax for a single person. The X value is the taxable income. So this column right here are the Y values. Okay, and this column right here are the X values. All right, so this is the income section, and this right here is how much you pay in taxes. All right, so a single person whose taxable income was $30,120. Well, $30,120 would fall into this range right here. All right, $30,120 would fall here, and this is the amount that he or she would pay in taxes. All right, so the homework problems will be these 5 right here. And just a couple things I would like to mention on the homework problems. For number 1, f of -1. When you plug in -1, that -1 is going to be squared. Okay, so -1 times -1 will just give you +1. It's going to be 3 times 1. All right, and on number 2, x equals 1/2. When you plug in 1/2 right here, that's going to be 1/2 plus 1. That'll give you 3/2. You'll have 1 divided by 3/2. And you can use keep, change, flip. Keep the 1, change to multiplication, and flip the 3/2. And see what you get for f of 1/2.